As you know, we're coming up on the Christmas season, so I wanted to bring a idea and Bible study about the Christmas season itself, the Christmas story, and some things like that. But the Lord brought another topic to my mind, and it does have to do with gifts, so it's kind of Christmas related, but it's more about something that we can take with us all throughout the year, not just at Christmas time. Before we get started, I want to tell you a Christmas memory of mine, and it has to do with what we're going to talk about in a little bit. So this is just one of my favorite Christmas memories from when I was a little girl, so obviously a long time ago. But my sister and I both had our heart set on the exact same toy for Christmas. It was a doll. Her name was Lori. And Lori was one of those baby dolls that looked like a real baby and felt like a real baby, and she could drink a bottle and all those things. But more than that, she came with her own full nursery. She had a high chair, and she had a little rocking elephant, and she had a crib, and she had a car seat, and she had all these pieces of furniture that would make up her baby world, plus of course the bottles and all that. My sister and I both for months and months asked my parents, please, can we have that for Christmas? We want that for Christmas. We want that for Christmas. And we both got that for Christmas. What we found out after the fact was, of course, all of that furniture that came with our little baby Lori, all of that was in pieces. None of that was assembled. So my poor parents spent Christmas Eve assembling all of those pieces of furniture times two, because my sister and I both got one. They spent all Christmas Eve assembling all these little furniture pieces and everything. And to them, obviously, as parents, they were happy to do it because we got the gifts that we wanted, and they were excited. But I do remember them talking about how long it took to put all those pieces together and how it was a labor of love for real. And it reminded me of a verse that we find in the Bible. And it's actually just part of a verse that I want to bring to your attention today. And it's Luke 12, verse 48. And it's kind of the latter part of it. Luke 12, verse 48. Let's look at that. It says, "For unto whomsoever much is given, of him shall be much required. And to whom men have committed much, of him they will ask the more." That Christmas, my parents were given the gift of giving us the gift that we wanted. They were given the gift of seeing our excitement and having us play with those dolls until basically they fell apart and all their furniture fell apart. They had that joy and they had that privilege, they had that gift. But to have that gift, there was also much required. They had to put all those pieces together. They had to spend all that time trying to get everything together so that it would be ready for us on Christmas morning. And like I said, it was a labor of love, but it still was labor. And any of you who have been in ministry for any length of time know that it's definitely a labor of love. It's a calling, it's a gift, and it's a blessing. But there is also much required. And I want to talk to you a little bit today about making sure we have our focus and our perspective on the right things. As we get into this Christmas season, things that are already busy, our schedules that are already hectic, everything just seems to get blown out of proportion. There are so many things going on that it just seems like our schedules are just jam-packed, and it's really crazy. Over the past month, my schedule has been just insane. I have published, I don't know how many books at this point, because I've had stuff backed up and I've been trying to get them published. I've published probably about 20 books in the past month. worked on Christmas music for different programs. I have worked on Christmas flower arrangements for our different chapels. I have done flyers for different events. I am speaking at a ladies' event. I've taught Bible study, which is a regular thing. I've played the piano for our church services, which is a regular thing. There's just been, and then of course you've got just your regular life of taking care of your house and taking care of your family and walking the dog, and there are all these other things. But with the Christmas, then it's also, I've got to decorate the house, and I've got to, plan for this, and I've got to make the Christmas candy, and there's just all these extra things. And if we're not careful at Christmas and all year long, we can take those blessings, those things that we've been given, and we can forget to focus on the blessing part, the things that we've been given, and instead focus on the part that's required. And like I said, in ministry, it's very, very easy to do, because it seems for some reason in ministry that there are a handful of people that do all the work. And when you ask people, why just this handful of people, why are they doing all the work? And the answer is usually, well, they're really good at that. They're really good at this. They're really good at that. They're really good at this. And that's true in a lot of ways, and a lot of times that is true. God does give gifts. He does give skills. He does give talents. He gives, certain people certain things to do, but everybody has a skill and everybody has a talent. But in the ministry, sometimes if you have more than one talent or more than one skill, you can kind of feel stretched thin, because somebody has to do this and somebody has to do that. Somebody needs to be in charge of the music, and somebody needs to be in charge of the kids, and somebody needs to teach, and somebody needs to preach, and somebody needs to sing, and you can get stretched really thin. And I was kind of in this place a little while ago. I was feeling completely and totally overwhelmed, because I felt like my plate was just running over, and my strength and energy were not. And I completely felt overwhelmed, and I was walking the dog and praying as I was walking, and I was telling the Lord, I don't understand. I feel like I'm just stretched too thin, and I can't get it all done, and it's just too much, Lord. And this verse came to my mind: of whom much is given, much is required. And the Lord reminded me that I was focusing a lot on what was required. And that's easy to do, because there's a lot required. There's a lot to do when you've been asked to do, or a phrase we like to use in the ministry is voluntold, that you need to do these things. There's a lot to be done, and so it's easy to get caught up in what needs to be done and what's required of you. But it's so easy to get caught up in that you forget that the reason it's required of you is because you've been given much. You've been given money, or you've been given talents, you've been given skills, you've been given the strength, or maybe the personality, to do certain things. There are certain jobs that it's not even a matter of skill. It's a matter of having the right personality and the right heart to do them. I love people. I really do. And I've worked with kids for many years, and I've worked with older people, But as a caregiver in general, I just don't really have the heart for that. It's not that I don't love people. It's just, I don't know. It's just not really my gift. So when it comes time to do something like that, I'm like, please don't call on me, because that's not really my gift. There are those that go around and they clean houses for others, particularly for the elderly who can't do that. I have a hard time keeping my own house clean, let alone somebody else's. So again, that's not one of my strengths, that's not one of my gifts or one of my skills, or really where my heart is. My heart is more in encouraging others through video, through teaching, through writing, through singing, through playing the piano, in all these different ways. I'm a very creative person, so I like to create and I like to encourage, and that's where my gifts are. You may be different. You may be the exact opposite. You're not creative and you're more of a practical. My husband is much more of a practical rather than a creative. He can problem solve and he can fix things and he can work with his hands. I'm not good at any of that. So when the people need that done, they don't call me, they call him. And that's good. And like I said, but sometimes we can be called on so much that it starts to become a burden and we start to become wearied by that, instead of remembering that it's a blessing. It's a blessing that we have family. It's a blessing that we have friends. It's a blessing that we have skills and talents and money and whatever it is that God's given us. It's a blessing. And if we're not careful, like I said, we can focus too much on what's required rather than what we've been given. And funny enough, the day that I was praying about this, I told you I was walking my dog, and it was a very, very nasty day. It was pouring down rain. The wind was blowing. It was very cold. It was just a miserable kind of day, but the poor dog needed a walk. And it was in that moment as I was praying about this that the Lord reminded me, our dog is a gift. She's a blessing. She's precious and she's something special to us. But sometimes the things that are required when you have a dog is to go out in the nasty weather and take her for a walk. And I have been in the past, and even sometimes now, I am focusing on the fact that I'm out in the nasty weather rather than the fact that I have a precious puppy and that I love her very much. And I forget about the joy that she brings to our lives because I'm so focused instead on what's required. So I want us to kind of think about the many blessings that we have. Like I said, and it's not just skills and talents. I mean, that's part of it. But family. Family is a gift. Yes, sometimes there's much required. We have to take care of our family. We have to spend time with our family. We have to make time for our family. Sometimes family drives us crazy. But it's a gift. And in the times when I'm tempted to complain about family or something that family is doing or some kind of trouble that's going on in the family, the Lord reminds me, think of how you would feel if you didn't have family. And it's very convicting. So family can be, friends can be a house. We have a lovely house and it's wonderful. And for that, we should be very grateful. But there are times that much is required, either the upkeep of the house or when the mortgage or the rent is due, there's much required. The same thing is true with a car. A nicer car, sure, that's great, and it's a gift, but there is much required. So of all the things that we have other than salvation, because salvation is a free gift, all we have to do is receive it. But outside of that, the gifts that God gives us, I don't want to say they come with strings attached, but they do come with requirements. God doesn't give us skills and talents just to keep them for ourselves. He gives them to us to be used. And He gives us family and friends and a home and everything to enjoy, but He also wants us to take care of them. So there are things required. And that I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say that they're not. But the main point that I want to bring is that we've got our focus and perspective right. And like I said, I think it's magnified this time of year because there are extra responsibilities with the various Christmas activities and Christmas services and things like that. There's extra pressure and extra obligations. So I think it's kind of magnified this time of year, and it can be very, very easy to get overwhelmed and to look at the to-do list, which reads like War and Peace, and think, I can't get all this done. There's too much required. And we can become so wrapped up in that and so consumed in that we fail to notice what we've been given. We're just focusing on the requirement and not on the gift. So this year, this time, this month, this season, let's focus on the gift. We have been blessed so much. No, we may not have everything we want, but we have everything we need. We may not have everything that the guy next door has, but we have everything that God wants us to have. And we've been so blessed. Let's not lose sight of that by focusing on the things that we need to do and the things that are required of us. Let's focus on how many blessings we have. The fact that we can do things for others, the fact that we have a warm place to live, the fact that we have family to share the holidays with. These are things to be thankful for and to focus on. So focus on the gift rather than what's required. But even more than that, let's focus on the giver. We spend so much time and energy worrying about our to-do list and trying to get everything done and focusing on this, that, and the other, and the requirements. And yes, we have work to do and it has to be done. But if we're not careful, we'll lose sight of the one for whom we're doing it. Ultimately, everything we do should be done for the glory of God. It should all be about Him. But if we're not thinking about Him and we're not focused on Him, it just becomes work. We're just doing it for the sake of doing it. We're doing it because it has to be done, but we're not doing it for the right reason. We're not focused on the gift or the giver. So as we go through our holiday season, as we come into the new year, there are a lot of responsibilities, there's a lot of obligations, but there are also a lot of opportunities to serve. There are a lot of opportunities to bring glory to God. So as you look at your to-do list, as you try to tackle each day's tasks, it's going to be tempting, if you're anything like me, to focus on what's required. But when you feel that thought coming to you and you feel that overwhelm building up in you, please remember this and take a moment to say, yes, there's much required, but that means I've been given much. And I want to stop and I want to think about and give praise to the giver for all He's done and all that He has blessed me with. I hope you have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.